Organic garlic.
Jessica grows garlic with her chicken droppings. So
We were gonna wait till the public records start.
They look very nice.
They really are.
Two shakers.
I suspected it was that, but just in case. But maybe Bob's right that it's keep lawyers. I get that.
Okay, Vicki, it's 1:30.
Okay, all right. I'll call the meeting to order. This is the Zoning Board of Appeals of the County of McHenry. Welcome. Today we're hearing two petitions. The first one is number 2024049, part of PIN 07-10-300-015, and the address is 17018 Strait Road, Harvard. It is the Strauss Family Farm Limited, and the request is for A1 agricultural to A2 agricultural district. It's approximately 1,315 feet west of the intersection of Deep Cut Road and Strait Road on the north side of Strait Road in Hartland Township. And the second one, which we'll be hearing concurrently, is 2024-050, and that pin is also part of, well, there's two pins here, part of 07-10-300-012, and also part of 07-10-300-015. And that address is 16910 Strait Road in Harvard, which is also the Strauss Family Farm Limited, also A1 to A2 agriculture. The 2-acre tract is approximately 1,730 feet west of the intersection of Deep Cut Road and Strait Road on the north side of Strait Road in Hartland Township. Okay, so we will start with board introductions. We're all from different townships so that we give a comprehensive view. And we will start with Mary.
Mary Donner, Greenwood Township.
Robert Cozen, Algonquin Township.
Charlie Eldridge, Richmond Township.
And I'm Vicki Gartner from Nunda Township.
Kurt Schnabel from Riley Township.
Jessica Beverly, Door Township.
Bill Kernick, Grafton Township.
Okay, thank you. What we'll do is we will start the hearing with testimony from Mr. Kramer and his client, and we'll hear everything that he has to say. Then the board will have questions, and possibly the staff will have questions. If anybody in the public has questions, there will be time for that as well. After that, we'll hear the staff report, and then we will go into the voting portion of the hearing when we've heard everything. Okay, so Mr. Kramer, if you could introduce yourself and your client and tell us what exactly you'd like to do. Swear you in, yes. Okay.
Want us to stand up?
No, you don't have to stand. If you plan on talking or asking questions, please raise your hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony?
I do.
Thank you. Okay.
Ready? All right.
Go ahead.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here. My name is Craig Crandall. I'm here on behalf of the petitioner, Strauss Family Farm. My witness today will be Joel Strauss, one of the owners of the entity that owns the property. As Ms. Gartner has indicated, we're here today on rezoning from the A1 to the A2 agricultural district. Each of the parcels in question is a 2-acre parcel. I brought what I have marked as Exhibit A to try to give everyone kind of an overview of how we got to where we are today, and then a little background from historical perspective on what the A2 zoning district was originally to do and where we're at today. So what I've marked as Exhibit A, you'll see in the orange or yellow boundaries, those were the 2 original parcels that our client owned. Each parcel was about 5 acres, give or take. What we have done in order to boil down to get to the 2-acre parcels that we have today, and I should add that Outside of the orange boundary there, everything to the north and everything to the west is also owned by Staus Family Farm. So they own this complex. Some of you may have been on the board. There's a conditional use adjacent for the landscape operation that they own there. That is all owned. So because of that, we had the opportunity to do deeds and transfer properties to adjoining owners in order to clear out everything other than the two-acre parcels that we have here. So I worked closely with staff to make sure that by doing these deeds and ending up with these two-acre parcels, each parcel meeting the criteria for that size, correct road frontage and that, we were able to boil it down that we are only rezoning to A2 that portion of the property that we're applying for today. On a historical perspective, initially the A2 zoning district was to allow for farmers to take out of their large parcels. It used to be 160 acres was a legal parcel. The A2 allowed farmers or owners to say, I can take a house and cut it off if I had an exception to the Plat Act, 5 acres or more, or first cut, depending on how old it was. And that could be either a house, or it could be land that had an impediment to farming or soils that were not suitable for farming. Over the years, that has modified, and as you'll hear in the testimony today, the requirement for the A2, it has to have a legally constructed residence. Each of these has that, and so just want to know, because if you were to go look at the plat book, you would not see these two parcels. The deeds that we did to create this were only done in the last 45 days or so. So just so everyone understands, if you go look, why don't I see this? Initially, we had talked about just rezoning a portion of the 5-acre parcels and working with staff, boiling it down to each 2-acre parcel and then rezoning that, we felt less confusing. So that's how we got to where we are. And so I just thought as a informational, starting with this Exhibit A, that might help anybody or answer any questions you may have. How did we get to those parcels? So there was a series of deeds that we did connecting back to Staus Family Farm, ending up with just those parcels. So that's my introduction. Otherwise, as I indicated, we're here for A1 to A2. We'll go through the criteria, the ownership, and all of that. So without further ado, I'll call my witness, Joel Staus. Joel, can you please state your full name?
Joel Walter Staus.
And your current address?
My current address is 10118 Meadow Lane in Hebron, Illinois.
Okay, and how long have you lived there?
26 years.
And your current occupation is?
Currently, I'm part-time farming, I'm part-time house managing, things like that. We sold that landscape company, so we don't have the we don't need the conditional use permit.
Great. The properties in question currently are owned by Staus Family Farm. And approximately how long have you owned each of those properties?
The current property, the 17018, my brother and I bought from my uncle just about 2 years ago. And he actually passed away 3 months after we purchased the property from them. And my aunt ended up moving to Florida. And then the 16910, the way it was structured was half of that property my parents owned, and we bought that from my parents probably 10 years ago, and half the property my aunt and uncle owned, and we bought that from them 2 years ago.
All right, so the properties in question have been in the family for a long time?
Since the 70s.
Okay, great. Presently, you are one of the owners of the Staus Family Farm, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and the other owner is?
My brother John.
Okay. Who's not here because he's farming today?
He is.
Okay. All right. The first property, 17018 Strite Road, and actually the other parcel as well, 16910, both are currently zoned A1, correct?
Correct.
And the parcels that we're looking at today, as I have just indicated, were boiled down from the larger parcels that each were contained on, correct?
Correct.
And we did a series of deeds, getting it down so that we could, your intent is peel off each of the 2-acre parcels, at some point sell those, the balance of the original parcels are connected back to the farm parcel that you have.
Correct.
All right, very good. You are familiar with the location of the property and surrounding properties and uses, correct?
Yes.
All right, I will show you, since we're gonna do them together, I will change. Pay no attention to it. All right, remark. What I have marked as exhibits B and C, these are the surveys of the parcels that we are talking about today, correct? Exhibit B is the 17018 Strike Road, and then Exhibit C is the 16910 Strike Road, correct?
Correct.
And each identifies shows single-family residence on the property, 2 acres in size.
Correct.
Right, and around and adjacent to these properties is all either residences or agricultural uses, correct?
Correct.
Other than the landscaping that's operating on the agricultural property.
Well, landscaping isn't operating.
Okay. Surrounding it is agricultural uses, and in your opinion, with the move from A1 to A2, this zoning is still compatible with the existing uses and zonings nearby, correct?
Yes.
And under the A2, there's still agricultural uses that you can do.
Yes.
Each of these properties has an existing lawfully constructed residential dwelling, correct?
Correct.
And you did not build either of these.
No.
Were they each constructed by your parents and your aunt and uncle?
By my grandparents and my aunt and uncle.
Okay, right. And each of these is on what is identified as an existing parcel, correct?
Correct.
Right, and as you're aware, to create the 2-acre parcels, we work closely with staff to make the transfers and to have these end up that these are current legal parcels, that if anything were to happen to the home subsequent to this, could be rebuilt, correct?
Correct.
All right. I'll turn everyone's direction. In the petition, we included the approval standards for map amendments, and I believe if you...
Page 16.
Okay, great. On page 16 of the packet, we went through the approval standards for map amendments for the 7 standards, outlining the standards and our responses to that. So we're not going to go through those, but we'll stand on that. Our application has that included.
Okay, we'll include that in the record.
If you would, that would be great. Thank you so much.
And I would also suggest that you include the standards that are on page, what did I say, page
16.
36.
Okay, is that the other side?
That's the
All
other
right,
side,
so page 16 and page 36 corresponding with each of the applications. Thank you.
Which are the same
They're
standards.
exactly the same.
Yes.
That is correct. That is correct. All right. Joel, you're also familiar, staff prepared a report reviewing the application, and that report similarly indicates that the use as requested is consistent with the future planning for the area, correct?
Yes.
All right. Presently, each of the properties in question is serviced by gas and electric services, that fully services?
Electric.
Electric. And do they have propane for their,
No.
no gas?
No gas.
Oh, so just electric?
Just electric. There's
Right.
no natural gas available out there, and they've not used any propane on the house.
All right, great. Each is serviced by a functioning well and septic?
Correct.
All right, very good. You're also aware, Joel, that as part of the process, the McHenry County Soil and Water Conservation District reviewed the area and the soils. They indicated that no full report was required, but as to the 17018 Straight Road, it was identified that there is a flood hazard area and some aided wetland. And on the 910. Similarly, no aided wetland, but some flood hazard area, really for informational purposes. And you understand that as a result of that, going forward, anyone that does work in here will need to work with the county as to any construction they do and any application related to flood hazard.
Correct.
When the homes were built, they got permits and all that, and so over the years, standards have changed, so they might have had to do something slightly different when they built it, but at the time, they were lawfully built and received occupancy permits back at that time. With that, I have no further questions or testimony from Mr. Staus. I'd be happy to answer any questions that any of the board members may have.
Thank you. Before we do that, I have to go through the legals, which I didn't do to begin with. This petition, both petitions have been reviewed and the following items have been received prior to today's scheduled hearing. 1, the publisher's certificate of publication from a newspaper is dated September 10th, 2024, and thereby meets the ordinance requirements. The affidavit of posting was signed and the date posted was September 8th, 2024, and thereby meets the ordinance requirements. 3, the affidavit of mailing was signed at date mailed was September 6th, 2024, and thereby meets the ordinance requirements. 4, the survey has been checked against the surveys have been checked against the petitions, legal notice, and publications in the newspaper, and all matched. 5, filing fees have been paid. 6, endangered species consultation was not required for these petitions. Number 7, the McHenry County Soil and Water Conservation District report has been received. NRI number L24-074-4630 and L24-075-4631. Okay, we'll start with questions from the board with Ms. Donner.
There's too much A and B. It wasn't 20, 50 years ago, but now it's 2 years ago, and now it's so this was a large farm, was broken down, has basically 2 5-acre parcels that have been okay because they basically, so you could break it up.
Correct.
Okay.
Those parcels existed back in the 70s.
Right, so as long as I got this and all of the part that can be farmed is going to be farmed anyway, and then that just leaves us with these 2 small pieces.
That is 100% correct. We took off all of the excess farmland, put that back to the farmland and boiled it down just to, back in the day would be the area non-suitable to farming or an impediment to farming. Yes.
Okay, it's just so that, as long as I've got that straight, so you've got your farming land, still farmland, and now you have 2-acre parcels. I'm just not used to seeing 2 acres when you're talking going to A2.
Correct.
So if the county says it's okay and the planning department seems to think that it is, and you've done that, I don't have any other questions.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Cozen?
I have no question.
Mr. Eldridge?
Just one question, sort of curiosity. The westernmost residents would seem presently to encroach on the eastern parcel. I was just wondering how that came to be.
You're talking about originally?
Right. Originally.
That's why we're here doing philosophy.
Yeah, so originally, somehow, when that house was built, the property line for what is identified as 17018, that property line went through the house of 16910. So on the drawing that I gave you, you see that little cross-hatched in blue?
Yeah, no, I see that you're fixing it.
So we moved the line over, 17018 gave some land to 16910. How that got approved and they did that, no idea.
The only thing that I could figure is because it was all family with my parents, my grandparents, my aunt and uncle. It was like, hey, it's all one family, it doesn't matter.
Well, back in the day, a lot
Right.
of people
And here we are today going, well, it kind of does matter.
Correct. Correct.
Okay, that was my only point because it's an oddity.
I thought you were going to ask, why is 16910, which is west of 17018, you would think the addresses would be the other way. Can't answer that.
Because the next one to the west is 17020. So between 17020 and 17018 is 16910.
And they couldn't do an odd number because it was
It's on the same side of
same
the
side of the road.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Kind of.
I see why you want to get rid of these.
My aunt and uncle built the house before my grandparents, so he got his address from the county before my grandparents
Oh.
built. Then my grandparents went for permit, they're like, what's their address?
And the post office probably stepped in and said, it has to be.
Exactly.
Okay. Mr. Schnabel, any questions?
Glad I'm not your postman. I have no questions.
No, I have no
No
questions.
questions, Mr. Koenig?
No questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
My questions are just out of curiosity. The portions that are hatched in blue on your Exhibit A, are those going to continue to be farmed?
Yeah, actually, the one that's above the 16910, you can see there's some outbuildings there.
Yes.
And that's one of the reasons why we wanted to keep them into the farm, because they're serviced by the property 17020 services those as far as water, electric, and those are outbuildings. That's why that line is drawn where that one is.
Okay.
And then the other one behind the 17018, that actually is agricultural planted farmland.
Yeah.
And then to the east of that, there's a driveway that accesses there, and we wanted to keep the driveway into the farmland
Yes.
field so we could
Rather
access
than in
that.
one of
Yeah.
the pages. Okay, got it. And are the houses occupied now?
They're not currently occupied. We, my grandparents' house, the 16910, we had a renter in there. And we had planned to rent the 17018. But after our renter moved out of the 16910, we need somebody that has pride of ownership. I don't want to keep going back and painting and fixing cabinet doors and fixing flooring. I don't want to do that the
You don't
rest of
want
my
to be a
life.
landlord anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why we've come to this point where we've made the decision just to sell them.
Okay. And how old are the residences?
The 17018 was built maybe 75, 76, and the 16910 was built 78, 79, somewhere in there.
Okay, so they're not old.
They're not old, but I mean, we've kept them up. They have new roofs. They have, one of them's brick. The 17018 is a brick house with the new roof, and the 16910 is new siding and a new roof. So I mean, they've been taken care of.
Yeah, okay. All right, and then, like I said, they were just curiosity. It's not
Yep.
going to sway my opinion one way or the other. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Does the staff have any questions? Oh,
We have has everybody, okay.
what?
No.
Everybody did?
Yeah, I'm just in a senior mode.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, does staff have any questions?
Staff does not have any questions, no.
Assuming you had a lot of questions to begin with.
A lot of them have been addressed prior to today, yes.
All right, in that case, does the public have any questions? No, okay. Let's see, I think, do you have anything that you'd like to say? Mr. and
No,
Mrs. Public back there?
We're just curious neighbors
Okay,
and really more curious about the process
yeah.
and
It's not always like this, it usually goes smoother.
yeah, seems pretty easy.
Yeah, it's not, yeah, it's just expensive. Okay, so moving on, we can now, let's see, where are we? You have a closing statement?
Oh, certainly. As I indicated, relatively simple concept here. We're taking A1 to A2. We have worked with staff to boil down to the sites, and Donner has said how we got there. We have done that. Meets all the criteria for the A1 to A2 as well as map amendments, so don't really have anything else other than that, but thank you for your questions and your review.
Okay, thank you. And I also forgot to get the staff report. So I'm so out of order today.
Okay, subject properties. This is two different zoning cases. Both of the properties are currently A1 and are surrounded by A1 zoning. As Mr. Strauss has indicated, property to the east of the 16910 property does have a conditional use permit on it for a landscape business with outdoor storage. which from today's testimony and taking is no longer in operation. Is that correct? Okay. Okay. Surrounding land uses within a quarter mile is predominantly agricultural. As you can see from the map, there is some scattered single-family residences in the region there. As noted in the NRI reports, there is a floodplain that does extend through this area. Because of that floodplain and the ADID wetland designations, there's a corridor in this area of environmentally sensitive area of which these two properties sit on or in that area. So technically, the future land use designation is environmentally sensitive area. The size and the road frontage meets the minimum requirements for an A2. Staff does not have any objection to either one of these cases being approved.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Anna?
I have a statement. You guys did a job of trying to put this together. Truly, I mean, it's.
We'll start with persistence from the clients. When they first called, I'm like, I'm not sure we can do this. And then we went through a number of iterations to do it, and I think that it was joint. I can't claim that some great, brilliant legal theories were done, but working through that, and once we got to we can do it, it did take a little bit, so thank you for that.
Well, among other things, just changing titles and changing that kind of stuff can be crazy when you get to the recorder's office, because if they do it backwards,
Correct. Yeah,
we have many problems.
And we did also work with the assessor's office ahead of time to make sure that they understood what we were doing. So it involved different departments. So yeah, they're all aware of what we did and shared with them the survey so they could follow it as well. So, yeah. The other thing, before I forget, I just want to move to admit our exhibits A, B, and C. Sorry, I forgot to do that.
And I wanted to ask you, I have A and B, but I don't know what C is. What is C?
Well, A was the one I showed you. B was survey for petition 049, and C was survey for the 050.
Okay, and
And
both
it's on
those
the
were,
floor.
That I think was a separate page. That was a runaway.
I have.
both of those were.
They're already in the packet.
Okay.
So, but because I called them out as exhibits, I
Yeah,
still want
so
to.
they will be accepted then
Correct.
on the
Thank you.
record as exhibits A, B, and C.
Yeah. So those will go to the county board specifically in their packet as exhibits.
Excellent.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so I can now close the hearing portion of the meeting and we'll move into the voting portion. This again is for two petitions. Let me put my glasses on so I get this right. 2024-050 and 2024-049. Both for A1 to A2.
Yeah, Madam Chairman, I would like to move that both petitions be accepted.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Okay. All right, do you have any discussion on both of these?
Yes, I think that they're side by side. The requests are essentially identical except for the address, which are, as I said, side by side. They're each roughly 2-acre parcels. This is in a very rural part of the county. All of the zoning for the better part of a mile in all directions is agricultural. The land uses, there's spotty residential, but is largely, once again, agricultural. And apparently there was a business, but it was an agricultural business next to this, owned in fact by the petitioner family. It is the policy of McHenry County to try to preserve farmsteads, even when they are no longer of use to the people farming the land. And that is really the focus of the A1 to A2 to permit a small parcel to be carved off with a farmstead so that that can be sold separately and the character of the community can stay as near as possible to what it was when farming operations were much smaller than they are today. This is an absolutely typical example of it. If it was a somewhat complex requirement to get to it, both of these are 50-year-old or older sets of farm buildings that were originally built for farmers farming this land. For all of these reasons, I believe that they've met the standards both for map amendment and for A1 to A2, and I will be supporting the petition.
Thank you. Ms. Donner? I will be supporting the petition.
Mr. Cozen?
I'd like to also commend the applicant for the thorough presentation, even to the extent of creating for interest this whole cabinet of curiosities of land use regulations, but not to hold us any longer. The presentation also included a full, I believe, compliance with the regulations, and I too will be supporting this petition.
Thank you. Mr. Schnabel?
I'm in agreement. I totally support both petitions.
I support the petitions. Mr.
I
Curtis?
concur in everything that my colleagues have said.
Okay, thank you. And I too support both petitions. Yeah, these definitely are straightened out now, I think, to some extent. Okay, so I'll take the roll call to see for our vote. And this again is on both petitions. So if you have any hesitation, speak now or forever hold your peace. Okay, Mr. Eldridge.
Yes.
Ms. Donner.
Yes.
Mr. Cozen.
Yes.
Mr. Schnabel.
Yes.
Ms. Beverly. Yes. Mr. Koenig.
Yes,
And I'll vote yes. So that will go to the board with a 7-0 recommendation from our board to approve.
Great, thank you so very much. What, when will it get to the county board?
November.
No, not till November?
Yeah.
Great, thank you so very much. Have a good rest of your day and enjoy your garlic.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.